Right now, without standing up, you could talk to a stranger in Tokyo. You could message someone in Lagos. Watch a man in Sao Paulo eat breakfast. There are 8 billion people on this planet right now. More humans are alive today than at any moment in history. You are more connected than any person who ever lived. And a rising number of those people feel completely alone. In 2023, U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy declared loneliness a public health epidemic. He compared its effect on your body to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Half the adults he surveyed felt lonely on a regular basis. So here's the strange part. You can reach almost anyone, and your brain still insists you have no one. To see why, look at the number your mind was actually built for. In the 1990s, a British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar studied primates. The bigger an animal's neocortex, the larger the group it lived in. He measured the human brain and ran the same calculation. The number he landed on was about 150. Around 150 stable relationships, the most your mind can hold. Dunbar found that number everywhere. The average size of a hunter-gatherer community, about 150. A typical English village in the Domesday Book of 1086, around 150. The basic fighting unit of the Roman army, close to 150. Inside that 150, your people come in layers. About 5 you would call in a crisis. Around 15 you trust with your grief, roughly 50 close friends beyond them. Then the outer 150 who still mean something to you. For 300,000 years, this was the entire human world. Your ancestors lived in small bands of 25 to 30 people. You were born into it, and those faces stayed until you died. They knew your name, your father's name, the story of your scar. You were never a stranger because there were no strangers. If you vanished, the whole group noticed by nightfall. Belonging came with being born. Now, picture losing that group. Alone on the African savanna, a single human became prey. You couldn't bring down large animals by yourself. You couldn't sleep safely with no one to watch the dark. Separation from the band meant death within days. So evolution did something clever. It made being alone hurt. In 2003, neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger ran a study at UCLA. People played a simple online ball-tossing game inside a brain scanner. Then the other players stopped passing them the ball. The instant they felt left out, the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex lit up. That is the same region that processes physical pain. Social rejection runs on the wiring built for a broken bone. John Cacioppo, a researcher at the University of Chicago, spent decades on this. He showed that loneliness behaves like hunger or thirst. Hunger drives you to food. Thirst drives you to water. Loneliness drives you back toward other people. That alarm kept your ancestors alive. Like any alarm, it has to feel bad enough to move you. You might be thinking you already have people around you. Coworkers, classmates, a feed full of familiar faces. Fair question. And the answer is in what your brain counts as your group. For most of human history, this system worked. Then, about 10,000 years ago, farming spread across the Fertile Crescent. Villages grew into towns. Towns grew into cities. Now you could walk down a street full of faces you would never know. The city handed you thousands of people and almost no tribe. Then it sped up. In 1940, about 8% of American homes held one person living alone. Today, that figure sits near 28%. More people live by themselves than at any point on record. In 2006, sociologists published a study in the American Sociological Review. They compared how many confidants Americans had in 1985 and 2004. In 1985, the most common answer was 3 close friends. By 2004, the most common answer was 0. The share of people with no one to confide in had tripled. The American Time Use Survey shows the same slide. Between 2003 and 2020, the average person gained about 24 extra hours alone each month. Hours spent with friends fell by hundreds a year. Then we built the thing meant to fix all of it. You can follow 2,000 people and watch their mornings. Your brain sees those faces and files them as your group. It expects what a familiar face always gave: care, shared history, help when you fall. A photo of a stranger's vacation gives it none of that. Dunbar tested this on social networks directly. The people you truly interact with stay stuck around 150, whatever your follower count. You scroll past more humans in an hour than your ancestor met in a lifetime. Your nervous system searches every face for your tribe and keeps coming back empty. And the ache doesn't stay in your head. It moves into your body. In 2010, researcher Julianne Holt-Lundstad reviewed 148 separate studies. Together, they tracked more than 300,000 people over years. People with weak social ties died earlier at a rate close to heavy smokers. Loneliness raises cortisol, feeds inflammation, and wears down the heart. Long isolation keeps your body in a constant state of alert. So why can't 2,000 followers switch that alert off? The bond your brain needs runs through the body, through presence. Robin Dunbar traces it back to how primates hold a group together through grooming. Touch, eye contact, and shared time release oxytocin and build trust. Humans swapped grooming for talking and laughing face to face. A like and a comment never reached that ancient system. Psychologists even have a name for the shortage of physical contact: skin hunger. It climbed during the lockdowns when millions went months without a single hug. A video call lets you see a face and still leaves the body untouched. Then the alarm turns on the person it was built to protect. John Cacioppo found that a lonely brain shifts into self-defense. It starts scanning every face for threat instead of welcome. You read a neutral glance as rejection, a late reply as proof nobody cares. So you guard yourself, pull back, and the distance grows. The system meant to pull you toward people now pushes them away. In 2009, Cacioppo and his colleagues studied a town called Framingham. They tracked friendships across thousands of people for decades. Loneliness moved through the network from one friend to the next. One lonely person left the people around them lonelier, who then withdrew too. A feeling built to save the group could quietly hollow it out. This is where the loneliness starts to make sense. Your brain runs a 300,000-year-old program inside a world built in the last century. It hunts for 150 people who know you in a city of millions who don't. It fires the same alarm it fired on the savannah when being alone meant dying. The ache you feel at night, in a full city, is that ancient signal still ringing. It does exactly what it evolved to do in a place it was never made for. Knowing this won't dissolve the feeling, it changes what you do with it. The alarm is asking for 150 and you only need to answer a few of them. One call instead of a scroll, one face across a real table. Your nervous system was waiting for exactly that, the whole time. You were built for a circle of people who knew you completely, who noticed when you went quiet, who carried your story, who would walk 40 kilometers and feel it if you were gone. That circle held about 150 faces and it lasted your whole life. Most of us will never live that way again. The part of you still searching for it is the oldest, most human thing you have. When you feel alone in a crowd of 8 billion, that is your tribe calling. From a camp that went quiet 10,000 years ago. And under all the noise, you are still listening for them.